is it good to be dependent on someone? Or is there a fear of being over-dependent?
You're born being dependent on someone. As a child, you're a helpless entity. You're dependent on your mother. You're dependent on the society that nurtures you, enables you to come up to a stage where now you can become independent. Yeah, so dependence is natural. There's nothing wrong in being dependent. Moreover, you cannot acquire all the requisites for you to live a normal life. So you are constantly dependent on the environment to give you your necessities. You might be a skilled doctor, you might be a skilled carpenter, you might be a skilled sports person. But there are other things that are necessary for your day-to-day living. You are not a manufacturer of toothpaste or a toothbrush, which you need in life. So you are dependent on all these people who provide these inputs or resources for you to live a normal life. So dependence is inevitable as a living entity. Now the next question you asked was over-dependence. Now what is over-dependence? Yeah, that needs to be defined. Some people feel inadequate in doing things and then they run to different agencies to fulfill their needs, which is also fine, up to a point that for my health I go to a doctor, for my house I go to an architect or a contractor, for my electricity I go to an electrician. So I'm going to different agencies because I'm dependent on their knowledge and skill for fulfilling my needs. But I keep going to one person for everything. Yeah, because that one person I have faith, confidence, belief, and therefore anything wrong happens in my life, I keep running to that one person. You must appreciate and understand that one person is not an island of knowledge, skills, and resources. So you are now being over-dependent on this one person to solve all your problems, which could be of diverse nature. Now you are believing in that statement, 𝗕𝗏𝗧𝗂𝗧𝗂𝗧। वो होता नहीं, 𝗕𝗏𝗧𝗂𝗧𝗂𝗧 की एक दवा नहीं होती। Yeah, you need different sources of solutions. So being dependent on one person for everything is over-dependence.
So one should think, okay, what is my need, and then go adequately to that person. But continuously, and in the name of love, you become dependent. In the name of faith, you become dependent completely on one person.
Sometimes it's also devious. By saying that I have complete faith in you, I love you, and I know you will solve all my problems, is my deviousness not to do things on my own and making you do things for me.
So it's kind of manipulative.
Yes, it's manipulative. So if you are manipulative, then you need to identify it and then make the corrections. And if you feel that somebody else is being manipulative with you, you need to be wary about that, careful about that. Maybe it will come to a stage where you need to tell the person that please don't manipulate me or use me. This is not my area, not my domain. You need to go to somebody else for a solution to this. I'm not going to do it for you.
So because I have seen sometimes, parents, they are dependent on one guru or something like that. And then they want their children also to go to that guru.
Sometimes you have faith based on experience. Sometimes you have blind faith. Yeah? If you have faith based on experience, that experience is yours. The situation was faced by you. And probably this guru, the so-called guru, enabled you to come out of that situation. Your children face a different situation. Your children have a different set of experiences. And probably that so-called guru, according to you, 𝗕𝗏𝗧𝗂𝗧𝗂𝗧, is not equipped to deal with the problems of the younger generation. So taking your children to that guru in your belief that he has answers for everything, that belief itself is false.
But why does this happen?
It happens because of your blind faith. Because you have not analyzed your guru's capabilities. You have simply trusted in blind faith that the Guru is capable of doing anything and everything. He has all the magic, he has magical powers which are enough for solving all problems in my life, whether they are my problems or my husband's problems or my children's problems. That belief of yours is based on inadequate evidences or even on blind faith.
No, but I mean to say, why that blind faith or this false trust comes? Why does it come
That is your
within a
character.
person?
That is your character. You are not a very rational, reasonable person. Why do I have blind faith? Because I keep my logic aside, I keep my reasoning aside.
Is it kind of a shortcut?
Sometimes it is. Yes, it's an easy way out. I don't want to take the effort of finding the logic. I don't want to take the effort of doing the analysis. I don't like to see the evolutionary answer, evolution based on the logic. This plus this is equal to this, therefore this is equal to this. I don't like to see the conclusion, and therefore I avoid the logic and I go on faith.
And that's kind of a long path. So
Probably it's too much of an effort. You will see children in school. Some children simply hate arithmetic, mathematics, because there is deductive logic, and then they avoid studying that subject. Why? Because it is too tedious for their fit patterns in the brain. They are very comfortable with languages, so they are happy reading different languages. They are not happy dealing with science subjects. So again, it's a character trait of a person who is born with a particular strength and a particular weakness.
So this comes out of inadequacy.
Naturally, everything is out of a sense of inadequacy. You are not inadequate. You must realize that you are born as a human being, which is supposedly the superior species on earth. At the top of the ladder is the human being in terms of evolutionary species. So you have the capability of logic, you have the capability of reasoning, you have the capability of understanding, and you have the capability of processing. Now, if you refuse to utilize these capabilities given to you by the universe through your birth as a human being, you are misusing the gift given to you. And now you want to believe that I am inadequate. The problem is not in your construction, the problem is in your development. You're constructed fine. You're constructed as a human being, as is every other human being. But you have cultivated yourself into feeling inferior. And therefore you say, I am inadequate. Every human being was constructed whole. If you were a defective human being, you wouldn't have all the body parts in the same position, working in the same efficiency with which it works in any other human. So you were constructed whole, complete and adequate. You did not cultivate yourself into believing that you are adequate, and you will find an answer to a solution to a problem that you face in life. The solution can be executed by you, or the solution can be executed by someone else. The kitchen cabinet has broken down. I am not a carpenter. I cannot execute the solution to the kitchen cabinet. I hire a carpenter. I am not going to hire an electrician to fit my kitchen cabinet. So I know how to get my kitchen cabinet corrected. I'm just giving a very simplistic example.
Yes.
So either I have the skill set to solve my own problems myself, or I have the knowledge of where to approach to hire the skill set necessary to solve my problem. What is true of my kitchen cabinet is true of my life. I don't want to make the effort of fulfilling the adequacy that is required in my life. I am adequate. Dependence, you started with dependence. Dependence fulfills adequacy. I am dependent on a carpenter for my kitchen cabinet.
Yeah.
There's nothing demeaning for me to hire a carpenter. Similarly, I am dependent on various agencies that are available to me as a human being to deal with any problem that I have in life. Many people just don't want to take that effort of finding the right solution for the problem that they are confronting.
So in relationships, sometimes they're too much dependent on each other. So is it codependency or overdependence?
No, here the whole thing has gone off track. So if you're over-dependent on each other, then nothing moves. So suppose a husband and wife are dependent on each other, and everybody will say, "Tu kar, tu kar, tu kar, tu kar, tu kar, tu kar." Koi kuch karta nahi. Each one is dependent on the other, so nothing moves forward. In some aspects, I can be over-dependent on my spouse. In some other aspects, my spouse can be over-dependent on me. That is acceptable. I'm just taking an example of the wife being dependent on the husband for the mechanical upkeep of the house, and the husband dependent on the wife for the kitchen upkeep. Right? So that selective dependency is complementary. But if one spouse decides to be dependent on everything on the other, then you're overburdening. Then there is no sharing. And whatever be the reason, it could be laziness, it could be upbringing, it could be anything. But if you are going to burden the other member in the family with everything, and you are only going to reap the benefits and enjoy the benefits lying back, then that relationship is bound for failure.
So that contempt will develop in that.
What happens? The failure can be in any.
It feel used.
You can be indifferent. इसको तो आदत है, हमेशा मेरे पीछे ही लगती है, छोड़ो ना, ignore. It can be indifference, it can be contempt, it can be hatred, it can be fights, it can be divorce. Anything could happen. I'm not talking of consequences. I'm only saying what is over-dependence. Over-dependence is like this, that for any damn thing, small thing, one person is constantly hounded. And codependence is, I'm dependent on my spouse for something, the spouse is dependent on me for something.
So it's same like interdependent.
It is interdependent, yeah. So it is complementary. Interdependence is complementary. Over-dependence is burdening. So balance is the key. In any relationship or in any aspect in your life, if you tend to be imbalanced either to the left or to the right, you are bound for failure. Even in dependence in a relationship, if you are over-dependent on one partner, then that relationship is not going to last. It may appear to last in the eyes of the public, but internally there will be a lot of tension, strife, and even come to a point of break. So be careful about dependence, interdependence, codependence, and overdependence.